Hello, everyone. Welcome to this episode of the Let the Right Ones In podcast. I'm your host, T. Thanks for joining us on this very first episode. Well, I should say me because I'm the only one here. But thanks for joining me anyway. This podcast is going to primarily be a writing, storytelling focused podcast. We will talk about things like music, movies, books, TV as well, and some writing techniques. But basically, though, I just want to focus on different aspects of storytelling, not too much on the technical side, because I feel like I don't have too much to offer there in that way. But things pertaining to the writing community, different forms of storytelling, things of that nature. And then, of course, sometimes we'll have guests and some topical things. For this very first episode, like I said, it is just me talking. And we won't get like too much into anything for this episode. Just be me and you getting to know each other. So I do thank you for tuning in, and I do hope you decide to stick around because I do have a lot of cool plans for this and a lot of cool things to talk about in general. So welcome, and again, thanks for joining me and giving me a shot. So it is New Year's. By the time you're hearing this, it'll be the second week in January. Podcast will either go out Monday or Wednesday. So whatever day you hear this will be, either Monday or Wednesday. And that's when things will roll out from then. But it is a new year, 2019. I hope everyone's having a good year so far. I can't really complain because it is just a few days into it. Don't really know what the year will hold, but I am excited to see. A lot of people treat New Year's like a blank slate, like New Year, New Me kind of thing. And I don't necessarily agree with that. Yeah, it's good to start over, but you don't necessarily have to wait till the beginning of a new year to start over. You can change and try to refresh your life at any time. You don't have to just wait till a new year. And then the other thing is, people always make resolutions and stuff, but then they don't, keep them. That's why I kind of feel like if you want to change your life or do something new, you should be able to do it at any time. And I don't know, some people get down on New Year's too. They kind of feel like, oh, another year has gone and I haven't really done anything with my life. And I get that. Sometimes I feel that pressure too. Because, I look at my friends and stuff and see that they're doing, all this amazing stuff. And then I look at myself and it's just like, ugh, this is all I've done, this entire year. But it's important to remember that you shouldn't really compare yourself to other people because people do things and get to certain places in their lives at their own pace. So just because, you're somewhere or I'm somewhere doesn't mean that we're not successful or, we're not doing anything with our lives. I think that's something important to remember in general. Because, like I said, I do that a lot. Just comparing myself to other people. It's just like, oh, fuck. Look at everyone else and then look at me. I'm not really doing much of anything that I want to do or feel I should do or the place that I want to be in life. But everyone views success differently and has different measures for that. I wouldn't say I'm unsuccessful. I've done a pretty good amount of things for my age, and I'm not exactly where I want to be in life, but I feel like I'm getting there. Just everyone does things at their own pace. So I think, like I said, that's something important to remember. Well, New Year's angst aside, there are some things that I want to do this year. I want to definitely get back into writing more. Just some background about me. That way you're not like, oh, who the fuck is this chick? Talking to us about storytelling and writing stuff. Well, yeah, you might as well say I'm in my late 20s now. Oof. It'll be my birthday coming soon to a theater near you. No, by the time this podcast comes out, it will be around my birthday probably. I have had 4 things published. I've self-published a novel. I've had 2 or 3 poems published, and then I've had 3 short stories published. So I've published about a handful of things, I would say. But I've been kind of out of the scene for a really long time. I haven't gotten anything published for a few years now. I haven't really written much in a few years now, except for, I tried to do like a few competitions, few submissions. Nothing substantial. I haven't been into anything like I have in the past. But I do want to get back into writing more and being a part of the community, learning new things. And I've never stopped like reading up on like, what's going on in the writing community and things like that, publishing, self-publishing. Like I never really lost interest in it. I wouldn't really say I lost passion for it either. I stopped, I would say, I guess around 2015, maybe a little bit before that. So like 4 years now I stopped due to some personal things that just made it hard to do. But I think I'm in a good enough place to where I am able to, write and not associate it with, what happened in the past. And so I am ready to try again, and I'm ready to, you know, express to you guys what I've learned and share things that I've learned in the past too. Because even though it's been like 4 years, some things have changed, but other things haven't. So I do just want to learn and share what I've learned with you guys and anything useful. And of course, pick apart different forms of storytelling. Because even though, I haven't been super active with my writing, I can tell what makes a good story and what doesn't, in my opinion, what works and what doesn't work in a story. So those are just, some things that we'll be exploring, like I did mention. So, I hope that's okay. Well, of course, it's going to be okay. That's a dumb thing to say. Don't mind me. A lot of cool things did come out last year. I will be touching on some of those things. And I am excited for a lot of things coming out this year. Junji Ito is coming out with another short story collection. He's this manga horror artist, and he makes these really cool short stories, some longer form, like Uzumaki, Gyo, Tomie, which did start out as kind of like a short story. And then he's got these other cool ones like Dissection Chan, uh, My Dear Ancestors. He's got a lot of cool short stories as well. And so he is coming out with a new collection sometime, I think in March or April of this year. So I am looking forward to that. He does have, oh, he did have a Frankenstein. He did a Frankenstein manga last year in 2018. I do have it, but I haven't gotten through it just because of time. But so far, it's pretty good. I never read the original Frankenstein. It was never really my cup of tea. I wasn't super interested in it. But the art so far is good. So's the story. I don't know how much it sticks to Mary Shelley's version, but it is pretty good so far from what I've read. I do hope to pick it back up. It shouldn't take too long. And I hope the short story collection makes up for that super shitty anime that they made. Not to say that the anime, it like the storytelling and stuff was bad. It just fell really, really flat. And I'll probably talk about all that stuff closer to when the new collection comes out. Probably make like a series of casts and drag my boyfriend on because he's a big fan too. He even has like not my boyfriend, but Junji Ito. He's got these collections of shirts at Hot Topic. There are a few sold at the store, but there's some online exclusives. Like the shirt I'm wearing now. I'm wearing one from the collection, the one from My Dear Ancestors. It's really cool. So if you get a chance, go check out Hot Topic's website to see the shirts because they're really cool, or check out any of his works because I really do like him. And he's one of my fave for horror. Another thing I'm looking forward to is American God Season 2. Even though it looks like the behind the scenes production was a shit show. It looks like they dramatically cut the budget. The episodes, I think it's a lower count. I think it's like either 8 or 10 when it was supposed to be 12, I think. The actress who was playing Media in the first season isn't going to play her anymore. There's going to be like a new actress for new Media, so that's a little disappointing. But we'll see. I'll give it a shot. I started reading the novel, but I never finished it. That's something else that I need to finish. Hopefully I can finish it before the new season starts. That way I can kind of do a compare and contrast. But season 1 was really good. I really liked it. Except for the Laura-centric episodes, because she's a piece of shit. But apparently in the book she's not as big of a piece of shit. And she doesn't play that big of a part like she does in the show. But we'll see. I do plan on finishing the book. I only got like a third of the way through it. But again, I couldn't because of time. It's never enough time. And then, of course, another thing I'm super excited for is going to be Avengers 4 Endgame. Really interested to see how all that's going to turn out. Like, what role Captain Marvel is going to play. The whole Hawkeye Ronin thing. Who's officially going to die. I think Captain America and Iron Man are probably going to die. Considering that tweet that Chris Evans put out like a while ago, like pretty much thanking the fandom and everything. But I've never read any of the comics for like Avengers or Captain America, Iron Man, anything like that. I read like a little bit of like some DC stuff, but like Batman, and then I've read a lot of like X-Men related stuff because X-Men's my bread and butter. Comic book wise, they're my favorite. But I am really, really, really excited for Endgame, and hopefully there is a happy ending because Infinity War was woof. Oh, that was rough. Like I saw it 2 times and I cried. I haven't watched it since because it's just like, I don't want to be sad. Kind of like Logan. I watched Logan like years ago when it first came out. And then I just watched it again for like the first time in a really long time. Because I was avoiding it because I was like, this is so sad. I don't want to cry. Like the first time I saw Logan, I saw it with my boyfriend. And we had just started dating or whatever. And like, since I'm such an X-Men nerd, I was like, oh my god, this is going to be so sad. I got to keep it together. So I tried not to like cry, but I ended up ugly crying a few times. So like when the movie was over, like I was just like full on tears and gross, and I was trying to be like, don't look at me, and like trying to wipe my eyes and stuff. And he was like, oh, are you okay? And then like 2 people turned around. And I was like, yeah, I'm fine. Like trying to wipe the tears and look presentable and stuff. I didn't sob or anything, but it was pretty bad. It was pretty bad. And I think that's it as far as things I'm looking forward to watching and reading so far in 2019. Oh, wait, Us. I am looking forward to that. That looks really good. The new movie by Jordan Peele, that looks amazing. But that creepy version of I Got Five on it, ugh, it looks so creepy. If you haven't seen the trailer yet, definitely do, because it looks like it's going to be a really, really good horror movie. He's surprisingly, Jordan Peele, been really good with horror. I wasn't expecting Get Out to be as good as it was, but it was super good. So I really have high hopes for Us. And then he's also doing a reboot of The Twilight Zone, but that's been rebooted like a million times, so kind of about that. I like Twilight Zone, but I did like Tales from the Dark Side better. I don't know. I just thought Tales from the Dark Side was a little bit more horror-y. I know Twilight Zone wasn't like meant to be horror. It was more like sci-fi speculative fiction stuff. Stuff to more make you think. through the use of sci-fi and speculative fiction. But overall, I do prefer Tales to the Dark Side better. That's just me. But we'll see how he does with the Twilight Zone and everything. That should be interesting. And then 2018 had some pretty good things come out. There was, of course, Infinity War. That was really good. If you haven't seen it yet, you should. I won't talk too much about that because it's probably been talked about to death anyway. But I did like it. Some of the dustings were surprising. Spoiler alert if you haven't seen it. That was pretty surprising. Who went in the snap? Yeah, I am interested to see how they're going to fix all that in Endgame. Because obviously, some people can't stay dead because they have movies coming, sequels. So we'll see. Fingers crossed. But like I said, Endgame should be good. Marvel does usually do a great job at that. And then I heard good things about Into the Spider-Verse. I will be seeing that by the time this comes out, so I'll probably mention it briefly on the next podcast to let you know what I think about it. I've heard nothing but good things, so I'm really excited to see it. Even though I don't like Spider-Man that much, Spider-Man's kind of to me. But I think Spider-Man Homecoming was really good. And, I did hear Into the Spider-Verse is good as well, so we'll see. Maybe I'll start to like Spidey a little bit more. And then there were some other like really unique movies that came out in 2018. There was BlacKkKlansman, that was really good, and Sorry to Bother You. BlacKkKlansman was based on that true story about that black cop that kind of trolled the KKK with the help of like another white cop. Like the black cop would call him on the phone and then talk to the KKK and things like that and set up meetings. And then the white cop would go to the meetings and things like that and get further intel. But it was a really good movie. I enjoyed it a lot. There was a lot of, I wouldn't say surrealism, but there were a lot of moments that were kind of like making you think a little bit. Cause like, well, here's a brief spoiler. So spoiler alert. I'll try to put like a little tag where you can skip if you don't want to hear about spoilers. But basically, he was dating this girl. I believe she was a Black Panther, or she was associated somewhat, but she was definitely a member of the Black Power movement. Anyway, he was dating this chick, and he was talking to her about blaxploitation films, like Blackula and those Pam Grier ones, Shaft, movies like that. He was talking to her about the blaxploitation films, and she was like, "I don't really like those because they're exploitative." And he was like, "Well, it's just a movie. It's all in fun." But then when the cop that was posing as him during the rallies or whatever, he was also there at a rally protecting David Duke or whatever. And they were watching a movie, Birth of a Nation. And as Ron Stallworth was peeking in there, he was seeing the movie and them cheering and things like that, the Klan. And he got upset. And it kind of calls back to that, like, oh, well, if it's just a movie, then, you shouldn't care. Just like, your girlfriend shouldn't care about the blaxploitation films. So I thought that was really cool. And then, like, he was tailing them at one point, taking pictures and stuff. And then as he was taking pictures, they were having target practice while he was taking the pictures at a distance. And then when he went to follow them a little later, he got sight of the targets that they were using. And they were like, really like deformed and gross depictions of like black people. I thought that was another good scene, another powerful scene. And then, of course, like at the end, like the movie itself, like I guess the main story of the movie ended kind of like on a comical note, but then it went into like a montage of like the Tiki Torch rally, um, that Trump supporters and white nationalists had. And then, of course, that woman that got run over with a car, footage from that was shown. And I think that was a really powerful way to end the movie. It really made you think, like, damn, like, this really isn't over. Like, there are still racists out there today. And so, yeah, I thought BlacKkKlansman was a really good movie if you haven't seen it. And if anything I said appealed to you, you should definitely check it out. It is based on a true story, a book by that name, I believe. I do want to read the book as well, but again, time. Hopefully I'll have time soon to like read everything I want to read. And then Sorry to Bother You was also a really, really surprisingly good film. They kind of marketed it as a comedy. And while it was humorous in some places, um, to me it was more like a drama. It was super surreal. Like there were lots of scenes that were, you know, super trippy. And then of course like the subject matter itself. I don't want to spoil too much because I think it's a really good movie, and that you do need to see it for yourself. But just be warned that in the first half, I would say it's like super realistic, but then as you're going, it gets like more surreal. So like around the second to third act, it starts getting a little wild. Not like super out there, but like it becomes a little science fiction-y. So just be prepared if you watch it. It's really good though. Lots of good acting and symbolism. And I probably will talk about BlacKkKlansman and Sorry to Bother You in another podcast. Because like I said, they were good movies and I think that they really need to be talked about. But this is just kind of like a introduction, getting to know you thing. So I don't want to dwell too much deep into it. And then I can't really think of anything else that came out in 2018 that I super enjoyed. I did see some like older stuff in 2018 last year. I saw Ponyo for the first time, and Pompoko, and Porco Rosso. Out of those, I really liked Ponyo. I thought that was super fucking cute. Pompoko, that shit was sad. It's one of the saddest Ghibli movies I've ever fucking seen. Like, it's not Grave of Fireflies, but like, I would put it right below that. Well, not right below. Like, give it some space. But it was pretty sad. But the I believe I forget his name, but the man who was responsible for making Grave of Fireflies was working on that, and it was really sad. But I think it had like a good message about balancing development and nature, like respecting nature. For those of you who aren't familiar, Pompoko is a Ghibli film, like I mentioned. It's about raccoons trying to save their forest, basically. Humans are moving in and developing it and fucking things up as humans tend to do. And so the movie's about the raccoons kind of fighting that, and it's really sad. There's not really a happy ending. Just be forewarned. If you do want to watch it, there's not really a happy ending in like a traditional sense. So yeah. And then Porco Rosso, while I enjoyed it, I had some questions. Like, why is he a pig man? Why does no one mention anything about him being a pig man at all? We got pretty much no answers for him being a pig guy. And why everyone just kind of accepted it. It's not like, oh, holy shit, there's a pig guy here. This guy was a person before, and now he's a pig guy. And I guess there was no way to change him back into like a regular person. I don't know. It was weird. I did enjoy it, but it was fucking weird because we basically got no answers to the whole pig man thing. I don't know. But I did like it though. It's a good movie. And I also saw Your Name, which is fucking sad. That movie is an emotional roller coaster, I swear. So, Your Name is an animated film, and basically, like, the premise is this girl and boy from like different walks of life and time periods swap bodies with each other, while they're sleeping and for like a day or whatever, some stretch of time. And they end up falling in love, and it's super cute and it's super sad and it's an emotional roller coaster. I almost died from the feels. So that was something else good that I saw. I feel like I'm talking about movies an awful lot. I probably am. But I really love movies. Like, I don't know. I feel like while a book can give you a lot, so can a movie. Like, I feel like a book you have to invest more time in, which isn't really a bad thing. Like, I think it's good to spend some time curled up with a book because you can imagine the world for yourself. It's not, already on there and on display. But with a movie, I feel like you can kind of immerse yourself into it a little bit more. You can just kind of look at the screen and kind of let your mind go and just instantly be transported into like a different world. Not necessarily a better world than as you would with a book, but I feel like you get something a little different out of movies and TV than you do with books. Oh, we also had new Rick and Morty in 2018. I generally like Rick and Morty. I think the third season was pretty good. Certainly wasn't the best, but overall, I enjoyed it. There were some episodes that I could really do without, like that fucking Morty Mind Blowers episode. I thought that was terrible. I don't know why they swapped that out for like an interdimensional cable, which I think are some of the best ones. Like, mwah, love interdimensional cable. But I thought the Morty Mind Blowers episode was a little weak. And then the season finale, I didn't care about it too much. It was just shenanigans with the president. But they did say they were supposed to have like 2 more episodes after that, but they didn't for some reason or whatever. So that wasn't supposed to be like the true end for the season. But it was meh. I did like the Rick Lantic's mix-up episode a lot. The one where they went to the Citadel and the whole development with Evil Morty. That's going to be really interesting to see how it plays out. What'll happen there. And then, of course, there was Netflix's smashes, Bird Box, and Black Mirror's Bandersnatch. I'll be talking about those in separate podcasts. Bird Box isn't going to get its own one because I feel I want to talk about that with like probably 2 different movies. The Happening and maybe It Follows, because I feel like the formulas are kind of similar. It Follows isn't really that similar, but it's similar in the event of there's an invisible monster, so to speak. Just like in Bird Box and The Happening. So I do want to talk about those. And Bandersnatch is definitely getting its own podcast. That should be, I would say 2-3 weeks out from now. There'll be like a Bandersnatch exclusive episode, which will be really cool. I'm really excited to talk about that. I really liked it. Bird Box, I have mixed feelings on Bird Box. Like I said, I will talk about this more in depth on like a separate podcast. But with Bird Box, like, I did like it. I think it was an interesting premise, although it did remind me of The Happening a lot, which is why I'm going to talk about them in the same cast. But I don't know. I just feel like in some places it was like a little weak. Like there were some nitpicky things like people on the internet were picking out, like, oh, how'd this one guy stay so fit in the apocalypse? And, shit like that. But why is his fade so clean? And I was just like, ugh. Like, you know, nitpicky shit like that kind of doesn't matter. But, like, so, spoiler alert, again, I will put a timestamp in to where you can skip. But the scene where they're on the river, and, you know, she's like, I'm going to choose who has to look to guide us through the rapids. And the little girl's like, fuck, you know, it's going to be me. And then she has a change of heart and she's like, oh no, no one's going to look. We're just going to do this blind. Like, I thought that was the stupidest shit. I was like, you know, I get that you want both your children to live and yourself to live, but this is a surefire way to get you all killed. And she did. She did almost get all of them killed over it. And then also the scene before that where like they let what's his face in? Greg, the crazy guy. They let him in from the outside. And then they just kind of leave him alone. Like, I know everyone was Sandra Bullock's character and then the other pregnant woman, Olympia. They were both giving birth at that time. So everyone was kind of like distracted. But I don't think they should have left him alone like that, you know? Like, they just met this guy and he just had some sob story and they just let him in. Not the fact that they just let him in, but they just left him alone by himself. Like, you know, I get, like I said, people were in labor and having babies, but still, you can't just leave some new guy in your house like that all by yourself. Like, people they were in the house with, Machine Gun Kelly and that other chick, they just fucking, like, left with the car in the middle of the night. Like, if you can't trust the people in your house already, what makes you think that you can trust strangers? So that was kind of my other issue with Bird Box. And then, like, also the group of crazies that were like, ah, you gotta look. Like, I feel like there were lots of groups of crazies trying to make people look. Apparently, in the book, um, there weren't as many crazies making people do that. But I feel like that's a bit much. There's like, what, 4 crazies? Like, the time they were in the grocery store, that was a crazy. Dude bro that they let in the house. And then there was like the guy on the river trying to get Sandra Bullock to look. And then there was that other group of crazies where Tom got killed. So I don't know. I thought that was a little strange. But then the other thing, oh, and can I just mention how everyone is acting like they just discovered who Sandra Bullock was? Like the internet is losing their minds over her. Like they haven't seen any of her other movies before. Like, I know there's like a lot of romantic comedies like 2 Weeks Notice and Miss Congeniality. But there's also like Speed and things like that. I'm like, has no one in The Blind Side? Everyone loved The Blind Side. So, oh, in Ocean's 8, she was recently in that. So it's just weird seeing like everyone freak out over her, like they'd never seen Sandra Bullock a day in their lives before. So I don't know. It's kind of funny. And then Bandersnatch was really fun. That was also from Netflix. Like I said, I'll be talking about that in a separate cast, but I will say that overall I did enjoy it. It's interactive. It's a choose your own adventure. Just as a warning, if you haven't done it yet, it does say an hour and 30 minutes. That's a lie. It'll take you more than an hour and 30 minutes to get through all the endings. And apparently there's a secret ending, but I haven't gotten that yet, and I'm not sure how to get that. But if you've gotten the secret ending, or if you did find the secret ending, let me know. But I've enjoyed it. If you've enjoyed it, let me know. Like I said, we'll talk more about that probably in like the third podcast. So like 2 weeks out from now, I should say. Well, it's 2, 3. You get the idea. We'll talk more about Bandersnatch. And can I also say that that would make a great great drag performer name. Like, if there are any budding drag queens out there, take that shit, because that's a really good name. Speaking of drag queens, does anyone watch RuPaul's Drag Race? All-Star Season 4. Things are getting pretty juicy. Just saying. This week's episode looks like, well, no, by the time you hear this, it'll be last week's episode. So, really looking forward to that. The previews look amazing. So, I can't wait to see what kind of drama. But I do apologize for any weird sounds or anything like that. I have this on the weirdest setup. Like, you have no idea what kind of setup this is. So, I apologize for any weird noises. But yeah, okay, so I think this is a good place to stop for now. Next week's episode, I'm going to get into some more writer stuff. Basically, just beginning stuff, certain things that beginners may be curious about. But I think it's good for like a general audience too. So I do hope that you will come and stick around. The podcast after that should be on Bandersnatch. So I look forward to talking about that too. So, like I said, I am going to wrap up here. I hope you enjoyed this first episode. Let me know in the comments below about if you liked it or not. Any criticism or anything like that. Constructive, please be kind to me. This is my my first hard attempt at this, and anything that you would want to talk about in the future as well. Just please let me know in the comments, and I'll do my best to address that, or try to include it in like a podcast, or devote a few minutes to it. But yeah, anything you want to say, just say it in the comments. And I'll see you guys next week. Thanks for joining. Stay out of trouble. Bye.